Hi everybody, welcome to another one of my videos. Today I'm going to have another look at what is the real cost of meat. I did a video on this before and I looked at it in regards to a Big Mac and how much a Big Mac would cost if we incorporated the life of the cow. And the number I got was about the value of the life of a cow per Big Mac was about 105, and it pushed, I think it was up to about $117 per Big Mac. I'm going to go back and have another look at those numbers, and I'm also going to have another look at the value of Cruelty, because that has been included to a certain extent, but the number currently in there is very small and is actually calculated by Meatonomics. So before I get to that, I'm just going to do a quick recap of what I covered in the first video. So many of you are familiar with the documentary Cowspiracy. So that looks a lot of the environmental things in regards to cows. So for example, air pollution caused from the methane, also the water pollution caused from their poop, as well as the land that they use up, the amount of food and water that they require, and also the health aspects as well. What are the effects on our health of eating meat and eating dairy? And Meatonomics have done a very good job of capturing those and putting them into dollar values. So they've looked at healthcare, they looked at environment, and they've even looked at cruelty. But the number they got on cruelty is very small, and I'm going to explain to you now why that number is so small and why I believe that number should actually be adjusted if we're going to actually capture the real costs of cruelty that's taking place here. So how they got this 38 cents? Well, they looked at, there was a total of 20.7 billion in cruelty costs imposed on the Americans each year. Extrapolated from, and this was extrapolated from a study, and this cost went into, I think it was an attempt to reduce or regulate how animals are treated to end cruelty. And they calculated that once that 20.7 is spread across all the Big Macs, it comes in at 38 cents. So we're going to look at that slightly differently today. But first off, I'm going to revisit the value of a life. So I've changed that a little bit from the previous video. So what have I done this time? I'm still looking at it in terms of intelligence, comparing human intelligence with an animal's intelligence. So I'm still going to go back and use that encephalization quotient. I'm also going to be looking at the value of statistical life. So the value of statistical life has been calculated by a number of different agencies, and they produced a number of different values. Again, I'm still going to be using the Environmental Protection Agency's value of 9.1 million, and I'm still going to adjust that again by inflation, which gives us about close to $10.9 million per life. So what's next is I'm going to adjust that by the encephalization quotient, and then I'm going to adjust it again, and that is by the life expectancy. Animals generally have a shorter life than people. So you have a person, I think, got an average life of about 79 years, compared to that of a cow of about 20 years. So again, that's going to be adjusted down, but I'm going to make a few other adjustments as well. So what is the encephalization quotient? I'm going to just briefly explain that. So first you get your cephalization factor, and that is your brain weight divided by your body weight, multiplied by another constant. In this case, we've used 0.66. There are other studies that suggest maybe 0.56 should be used, but for this, I think more information is available on getting the 0.66 number. Pigs, though, you remember from the previous video, kind of lost out a little bit on that one, as it appeared that their intelligence is actually lower than for what they actually display. So what you go on to get the encephalization quotient, so you get that factor, and then you divide it by the average cephalization factor of other mammals that you've looked at. So humans came out quite high, I think they got about a 7.44, whereas cows I think was about something like a 0.4 or something, I believe. Okay, so let's just have a quick look at the results that I obtained last time. So the life of a cow was just over $105, and giving us a total of $117 per Big Mac. As you can see here, I'm highlighting the cruelty. That is something that I didn't think was completely addressed by Meatonomics, because it's only looking at the money in terms of what we're spending and what's coming out of the taxpayers' money. So in effect, that there could have been nothing done about cruelty and that number would have been zero. So I think it's just a little bit more in terms of what we're paying out, but in terms of how the animals suffer and what it is to them. You have to bear in mind that they feel things like we do, just that they can't communicate things in the same way. So we're basing that communication, like I mentioned before, off of intelligence in terms of what they can process. So what I've done here is I've used the value of statistical life and I've used the encephalization quotient. So it's a little bit similar to what I did before, but It's a little bit different this time. So what is the value of statistical life of a cow? So I've taken the value of a human, I've multiplied it by the encephalization quotient of a cow, and then I multiplied that by their life expectancy, but this time I've minused the slaughter age. So a cow's life expectancy is about 20 years, so I've minused off the 1.5. And then I've divided that by the encephalization quotient for humans, which is about 7.44. And what I've done this time is I haven't just used the life expectancy, but I've divided it by 2 or multiplied it by 0.5. The reasoning behind that is we're assuming that you've got a fairly constant distribution of when someone could just drop dead through an accident or whatever throughout their life. So you could have a car crash. It could be someone on board who's only 2 years old, or it could be someone who could be 78 old. So you work it out in terms of average. It's a very simple calculation. People may argue if you use another distribution, whatever, just for the purpose of this exercise, you've just divided it by 2. So this gives us quite a bit higher value for statistical life. As you can see, cows' lives get cut quite significantly shorter than what a human's life would be due to any sort of event that could take their life. So their value of life is now around 431,000 instead of around 208,000, which was previously calculated. So what about the cost of cruelty? How have I factored that in? Very, very similar. So this time I call what I call the VC, value of cruelty. So again, I've looked back at the value of statistical life of a human. And again, I've also looked at the encephalization quotient of humans and cows. But this time I've multiplied by the age slaughtered. So what I've done here is assumed that a life in captivity, a life waiting for being slaughtered, in effect, it's almost like not having any life at all. Some may argue it's better to be dead than to live that kind of life, to be cruelly treated and abused. Others may argue it's still better. So I've kind of taken it as equal to dying. So in the sense that that life, that 1.5 years, is like, it's like it didn't happen, put it that way. So adjusting it this way gives us a value of cruelty of about 35,000 per cow. So basically it's like looking at like the cow has been just died at birth. So you got all the years that he lost because they got slaughtered, and you also got the years from birth to slaughter as lost as well. So it's like a whole life that's been lost. So let's just have a quick look at the numbers here. So I've got a comparison here between cows and humans. So you got the body weight. Humans are quite a bit lighter, average is 62 compared to 465. I say that seems quite light for humans. Brain weight, humans' brains is quite significantly bigger, it's about 3 times. So that's what gave us our encephalization quotient that's quite significantly higher for humans, 7.44, and cows actually, okay, it's 0.6, I said 0.4, so it's a little bit higher than that. So life expectancy, 20 versus 79, and also value of statistical life, previously calculated for cows, was about 233,000. After adjustment, it's gone up to 431,000. And you also have the cost of cruelty that's pretty much close to 35,000. So now we're going to take a look at our Big Mac. So what does that do to the price of Big Mac? As you can imagine, it's probably pushed it up a little bit. But by how much? So we're still using the same assumption that a Big Mac is made up of 2 45.4 gram pates. And we're still using the same assumption, same size cow that's got about 201 kilograms of meat. This is just some stuff I got out of Google in terms of how much meat you can actually get off a cow. And we're also assuming that all of that can be used for Big Macs. I know a lot of it isn't, but just based on this assumption anyway. So what is the value of life lost per Big Mac? So this time we've got a figure of 194, actually 195, close to 195. When we divide the 431,000 by the 2,215 Big Macs, we assume that you can actually get out of 1 cow. And we've also looked at cruelty, and that gives us a figure of 15.81. So a similar calculation again. This time we have the overall value of cruelty per cow, and then we divided that by the number of Big Macs you could get out of a cow. So where does that now leave us with the price of the Big Mac? So we've got this new figure now. So I've kept in the Meatonomics value of cruelty. I put that in terms of tax, and that's related to taxpayers, not directly for the animals. So I've included our own calculated value of cruelty of 15.81, And I've also got the adjusted life of a cow based on that slaughter age rather than an average age, because I think the other calculation probably reflects more of a cow living up to an age of 10 rather than a year and a half. I think they go from about a year to 2 years, depending on weight. It's not actually directly per age. But anyway, we're going to go with 1.5 years on that. So that now gives us a total cost per Big Mac of $223. Whopping massive. So as I mentioned in the previous video, if that was the price, and if that was the price you had to pay over the counter for your Big Mac, you wouldn't see anyone in restaurants. It would be empty. But I think this price is a truer reflection of what the true costs are. And it's not just to us as humans, but it's cost to these guys. In this case of the Big Mac, it's the cost of the cow, cost of a life. If I was to adjust that and we were using human meat instead, then the number would still be higher, but I don't think that we should place values just purely from a human perspective. And I think the world will change at some point. It's like, well, things only looked at, we had racism and all that from one particular racist point of view. Now we've expanded and looked at it from all of humanity. So I'm hoping that we can actually look at costs from respect to all sentient beings rather than just the human race. So again, I still think there's a lot more work to be done on this, and I'm going to be producing a few more videos in relation to costs on a few other things as well, not just in relation to meat and stuff like that, but I'm going to be looking at in terms of things, other cruelty, like what is the cost of circus to animals, what is the cost of greyhound races or horse racing, even killing animals for fur and all those sort of things. So those videos are going to be coming out in time, and over time as well, I'm probably going to, well, almost definitely going to revise my methodology and approach in terms of how I calculate these numbers. But for now, I'm going to stick with these numbers. And again, I'd be very grateful if you have any comments or have any other ideas in terms of how we can put a number on that. As I mentioned before, though, I'm not entirely comfortable putting a value on life in terms of dollars anyway. This, as I mentioned, even with human life, how much it is all very, very subjective. And in time, I think we can come up with a better way of actually valuing things rather than in dollars. As I mentioned in some of my other economics videos, we actually look at it in terms of time, and that's something that I'm looking more into, valuing things in regards to time and how we value our experience of that time. So that's an area where I'm heading towards. So stay tuned for those videos as well. Alright, that takes us to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, could you please click the like button, would be great. And if you want to see more videos like this, and what I'm calling it under the playlist of vegan economics, hit the subscribe button and there'll be more videos of those coming out. And there'll be several other videos as well relating to economics. So not just about animals as well, but I've got some basic economic concept videos coming out. I'm still doing my conference series. There's still a few more conference videos that will be coming out as well. It could be quite interesting. Those relate to cost-benefit analysis and transport economics. So a lot of stuff to come. So again, thank you very much, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I'll be seeing you all very soon.